Hello YouTube, it is Liam the Deaf Doom Metalhead with a brand new video. This time I'm doing the UK because I thought getting to December now I've got to do one more collection update and then do my top albums of the year and all that kind of bollocks. So I thought I'll get one more of these around the world. If you've never watched these before, essentially what they are, I do one country and then I show death metal, black metal, doom metal, thrash metal. Anything I think is worth mentioning that's maybe underground or you've not heard before, but primarily it'll be death metal and doom metal in this selection. Today we're doing obviously the UK to round off the year because I thought I've got quite a fair bit of bands that I've played with throughout the years and listened to, and you know there's some real gems in the UK, old and new. So hopefully you'll enjoy this, and there might be one that you've never heard before, and you know end up enjoying a new band you've never checked out before. So kicking off, the obvious one. I mean, you don't have heavy metal without the mighty Black Sabbath. Probably one of the shittest album covers in my opinion. But this album has all the classics on it. You got Iron Man, Electric Funeral, Fairies Wear Boots, War Pigs, Paranoid. You know, the whole album is a classic. And every metalhead should probably have this in their collection, or at least aware of this album. So yeah, can't mention the UK without that one. And another one that I probably should mention is down here is one of my favourite bands as well, the legendary Judas Priest. Yes, they're not death, they're not doom, but they are pioneers of the genre that started the whole heavy metal movement as well, in my opinion. So you obviously got Sabbath, you got your Judas Priest, you know, these kind of bands that paved the way for so many others, and they, you know, like you could say Painkiller kind of aided the progression of speed metal and thrash. And there's all sorts of things you can compare Judas Priest to in different genres, and for me, this album has got a lot of slow, doomy kind of stuff on it, and very doomy kind of riffs that you can kind of translate into the more modern metal. Because every metalhead that likes extreme metal will reference Judas Priest or Black Sabbath. It's just, like for me, like I can listen to a Judas Priest album and I can pick out certain riffs and they translate really, really well into doom metal. So yeah, Judas Priest, fuck yeah. So, got a fair few bands. I mean, I'm even wearing one t-shirt of one that Mark's probably spotted already watching this, if he watches this. So I'll kick off with them. That is the mighty Enchantment. Mark G with a C has his own YouTube channel and his own little empire here on YouTube of followers. So everyone's probably aware of this band because he talks about them quite a lot, and why not? This is the only album they've ever put out. This is the 2020 reissue through Transcending Records that he very kindly gave to me, and it is awesome. Sounds brilliant. I have it on LP as well, and it is a brilliant album, a classic, and yeah, just one of those albums I don't think I'd ever get bored of. I listened to it for years and years, being the fan of death and doom that I am, and getting to know Mark and Paul, the singer, has been quite cool this year to kind of dip my toe into the metal world again, because I kind of keep to myself normally, and doing these whole YouTube videos I kind of started speaking to a lot more metalheads than I rarely ever would do. And yeah, so I've also got the tape of the early demo, which in my opinion actually sounds better than the full-length album. Very raw, very aggressive, very heavy, and I can't even picture Mark playing this kind of thing, you know, it's just too angry for him. But yeah, brilliant demo. And the new album, I've heard a track off that and it sounds fucking awesome. So yeah. And then moving on, talk about one of my favourite epic doom bands. You've got Candlemass from Sweden. You've got Solitude Eternus from America, but you've got to mention the band Solstice. This is their latest. I also have quite a few of their albums actually, but this is the latest one, White Horse Hill, with a different vocalist. I can't remember his name, but yeah, very epic doom. This has got more of a traditional metal sound to it, but my favourite is this one, Lamentations from there. I want to say it's very early 90s this came out. This is a reissue obviously through Cosmic Key, but if you like epic doom and that traditional metal sound, you'll love Solstice. They're such a good band. Rich Walker's the only original member left, and he just churns out brilliant riffs, very melodic, very epic, very heavy, and you've certainly got that like Iron Maiden feel almost to their music, but obviously more of a traditional metal sound, and it leans heavily on the doom side as well. But yeah, an excellent band, and if you've never heard of them, you really, really should. And then I suppose we just better stick with the old guard. So another one that their latest album actually really, really enjoyed. It took me a couple of listens, but like this one for me is the stone cold classic era of Paradise Lost, Shades of God, Gothic. This is their debut from 1990 through Peaceville. Yeah, it doesn't sound nothing like they do now, so a lot of newer Paradise Lost fans probably will give this one a complete miss because it'll probably be really alien to them, but it's very much a death doom album. It's got very, very guttural vocals, very heavy, raw, black metal sounding almost guitar work. It's very lo-fi, kind of messy almost, but if you've got to remember when they were like teenagers when they did this album. But yeah, sounds awesome. I love it. The artwork is really cool as well. And then here's that one, and then you can compare it to the latest from this year, Obsidian. This album is a cross of the older sounding stuff with their obviously more new polished style. So you've got that melodic side, you've got the really heavy raw side, you've got that kind of, I don't know, that kind of Depeche Mode-esque vibe going on in some of these tracks as well that they did for the mid-tier. So this kind of covers everything they've ever done, really, this album, to me. I'll always prefer the death metal side of it and the really early raw aggressive stuff, but this album's actually grown on me a lot and it's definitely worth checking out. But Paradise Lost, can't go wrong with them. And then who should we mention next? Let's do this one. So I'm a massive Bolt Thrower fan, obviously I need to mention them, but you can't go wrong with Memoriam, which is kind of the new version of Bolt Thrower, you could say. You got Carl on vocals, he was in Bolt Thrower. I always forget the bass player's name, but he was in Benediction. Andy Whale, the drummer, obviously Bolt Thrower fame. And now I believe they're putting out a new album next year. That'll be their fourth one. I've got all three, and yeah, they all sound great. You can't really go wrong. If you like Bolt Thrower, you'll like Memoriam. It's as simple as that. You know, the artwork is killer. You know, full gatefold I think on this one as well. Through Nuclear Blast. Don't know if you're going to get that on my screen's messing it up. But this one came out in 2017. They put one out, I think, a year later, and another one like a year after that. You know, and they're already on to their fourth album now, so they're very, very consistent. And yeah, an amazing band. And obviously, if you like Memoriam, like I said, you will like Bolt Thrower. It's probably the most riffiest album of theirs for me. For Victory, really heavy. Excuse me. Really heavy. And yeah, I mean the artwork's okay. It's not my favourite of theirs. Obviously they've got some brilliant album artwork. But the riffs on this are fantastic and a classic if you like Bolt Thrower. Another great UK band that you might not have heard of before is Godthrymm. Now this is a band that was formed by Hamish, who was a former guitar player for My Dying Bride. And this also features Sean Steels, who was also a former drummer of My Dying Bride. This is their EP when they first started out. I think this came out 2017, 2018, around that time. As you can see on the back there, it's got this chap, I forget his name, but I believe he was in Solstice. And then there's Rich, who was on bass for a little while, who I know through Facebook. But yeah, really cool EP. I mean, we played with these guys when they were probably, when they became a three-piece, I think it was a couple of years ago. And I've got to know Hamish and Sean really well from numerous gigs, and they even played their album opening show this year before COVID. So they've got a 2020 release that you must check out. But I do like the artwork on this one quite a lot. So yeah, go check out Godthrymm. Brilliant, epic, traditional, like doom. Very much in the vein of Solstice, that kind of vibe to it, but a bit more. If you like bands like Pallbearer and that kind of thing, it's got that vibe to it as well. So yeah, go check them out. And then, what have I got down here? Oh yes, this one's a new one for me. I've listened to this band for years. I just don't have anything else by them for some reason. I've seen them live a few times. Benediction, this is their new one from this year. Benediction, again in the vein of Bolt Thrower, classic old school death metal. Very heavy. Dave Ingram on vocals is awesome. You know, guitar work is simple as it is, but it's also really effective. And yeah, a brilliant band. Down on Horns is one of my favourite tracks by them. Grief Giver. There's quite a few, but the early 90s stuff, especially by them, is fantastic. So yeah. And then moving on, we've got a project. So obviously we mentioned Paradise Lost. Gregor also formed a band, Vallenfyre. who did 3 albums before calling it a day. This is their second. This one came out, I think, in 2014. Yeah, through Century Media. Vallenfyre are amazing. Played with them as well. I can brag about that still. Brilliant, brilliant band. Really in the vein of that death doom in the very first album. And then the second one, this one became a bit more crust punk almost. A little bit seeping in like discharge sound and stuff like that. And then the third one leans very heavily in the crust punk kind of style, and the speed of it is a lot more. This one's got some brilliant doomy tracks on it as well. But yeah, a really good album. And then when they disbanded, he formed this band, Strigoi even. Can't even fucking talk. This came out in 2019. Very interesting little project. Basically sounds like Vallenfyre. I'm surprised they didn't just keep the Vallenfyre name, because this is probably the same, but because each Vallenfyre album changed, this one's like a natural progression from the third one. It's just raw and nasty. Very nasty sounding. I must get this on CD or LP, because I haven't got a tape player at the moment. And I bought this assuming that it came with the CD, but it didn't. So I've never actually been able to listen to this, and I got it brand new. But I will get a tape player once the shop's open again. I can actually probably go and start looking again, because I was going to start looking, and they put us in lockdown again. But yeah, brilliant, brilliant band. I've streamed this loads though, so I know what it sounds like. And then sticking with the kind of blackened death metal, doom metal thing, we have Voices. This, I think, is their second release or their debut. I'm pretty sure it might be their second. With a really long title, From the Human Forest Create a Fuge of Imaginary Rain. It's just too long for an album title. Bought this at the gig when we saw them, me and my friends, probably 2014, maybe 2013, I can't remember. The place where they played in Norwich has since been demolished and turned into a block of houses. But if you don't know Voices, they're like a blackened... It is black metal, but it was more of a noise project as well. There's a lot of weird shit going on. And as their albums have gone on, I struggle with this band a lot, because it's very experimental and very out there. It features former members of, well, current members even, of Akakoc, which is the, obscure death metal band from the 90s here in the UK that wore the suits and talks about Satan a lot. This is kind of essentially that kind of thing, but a bit more black metal. I like this album a lot, but some of their albums I really struggle with. And then this one, absolutely love this band, and that is Sabbat. This is the thrash metal band featuring Andy Sneap, who's obviously now a very, very famous producer, and also in Judas Priest at the moment, which is a massive step up in someone's career. But yeah, both their albums I've got are fantastic. Their vocalist, Martin Walkier, he's fucking awesome. Very unusual way he does it. Like, he delivers like a story really, really fast. And how he remembers all those words, I'll never know. But this band, when I first ever heard it, just literally caught my imagination straight away, and I've liked it ever since. Even though I've kind of gone off thrash over the years, I'm dipping my toe back into it. But when I was mega into thrash, this band really stood out for me. And even now, I can quite happily listen to this and still enjoy it and remember every single riff and every breakdown on the drums. Great band. And then more underground stuff. This band are from Wales. I think they're Cardiff based. I've played with them a few times, and that is The Drowning. They have a new one out this year as well. This is their album from 2015. Sensant Signs, if I've said that right. This is my favourite by them. Brilliant band. Really heavy, really in that vein of that traditional death doom sound almost, with a modern production. You can kind of compare them to Paradise Lost early stuff, like Shades of God almost on some of their albums. And then you can also compare them to, I don't know, they're not raw and aggressive sounding death doom. They're more that melodic, mid-paced. It's not boring, it's not slow. Each album has obviously changed throughout the years. I've got their very first one, and it's very different to this one, but I do like the artwork on this one as well, if you can see it. So yeah, go check them out, The Drowning. And then some kind of blackened death metal with a progressive touch to it. That is Decomposed, another band I've played many shows with and know several of the members. This is The Kingdom of the Blind, which is my favourite by them. This one came out in 2015. And yeah, if you like black and death metal, but with a more of a technical touch to it, you must check this band out. They are really, really good. And live, they're all phenomenal musicians that really piss you off. Because you think, I know I can play guitar, but I've never really learned properly. You watch these guys, they've learned their instrument, they know how to play it, and they sound fucking awesome. So that's them. And then a band I was lucky enough to see their very final show that I have a CD back there that was recorded, and that is the legendary Cathedral, Lou Dorian's band. This is like a best of that I listened to for years and I found quite cheap on eBay a couple of years ago. The Serpent's Gold, got all their classic tracks on it, 2 discs. And that's all I really need from them. I might pick up some of their studio albums, but this is all I normally go to for Cathedral because it's got all the best songs on it. And I listen to it quite happily. Stonery doom almost, groovy doom. It's kind of got a lot of traditional sense to it. The very first album is pretty much, you could say, funeral doom almost in its style and pace. The Forest of Equilibrium, I think it was called. But yeah, brilliant band. I saw them live twice, I think, before they called it a day. And then another one of the big 3 of the Death Doom UK scene back in the day, Anathema, with their Serenades album. Came out in 92 maybe, 91. Full length, I mean the EP Crestfallen is on here as well, which I prefer. But this album, you know, I listened to it the first time I really struggled with back in 2010 maybe I first heard this, 2008. And I just didn't get it at all. And then years later I kind of checked it out again. And I really enjoy it now. It kind of fits that style that I was just really struggling to get into. Like, it's not as raw and aggressive as, say, like My Dying Bride or Paradise Lost. It's kind of pulled back a bit. And the guitar tone is not as heavy. And there's not much breakdown riffs compared to those other 2. But this still, it just sounds good. You know, I can't really say any more than that. I'm not a massive fan of Anathema. And this probably this one and the Crestfallen EP, the only things I really listen to. The latter stuff I couldn't give a shit about. But go check it out. Now this band I quite happily brag about and say they're awesome. Mark showed an original press of a CD he has, and I was convinced it had a gravestone on the original one, and I wondered why mine didn't. So clearly mine's a reissue, and I thought it wasn't, but there you go. And that is Decomposed, Hope Finally Died. Brilliant band. I have the remastered EP up there on vinyl. But this CD, this full-length album is fucking awesome. Riffs everywhere, brilliant sounding vocals. I think they called it a day quite a while ago, and I don't think they've done anything since. This came out in the early 90s through Candlelight. It doesn't say when. Mark would know. But yeah, brilliant band. Very much in the vein of Enchantment. One of those bands that did a really strong album and then just fucked off and did nothing else for, you know, whatever reason. But yeah, I really enjoyed this album. Still, it's such a good album. And then one of the albums that most people never show from this band, but I thought I'd show this one because no one talks about this one. And that is Carcass with Swan Song. Love Carcass, seen Carcass several times live. Everyone likes Carcass. If you like death metal, you'll like Carcass. It's got a bit of thrash in there, a bit of grindcore, death metal, you know, there's all sorts going on with Carcass, and they've got one of those guitar tones that everyone loves. And the melodic leads, like Heartwork, is a classic. And yeah, but this album I enjoy. It's a fun album. It's not serious, and I know a lot of people hate it. I enjoy it. Obviously not as good as Heartwork or the really early stuff. I mean that's obvious. You know, if you're a death metal fan, you're not going to go to this one if you like Carcass. But there's some really good riffs on here, and you know, you can put this on the background quite happily, and you don't get bored. So Carcass, and a band I've seen live, and I would quite happily say on record they're the most boring band I've ever seen in my 20 odd years of going to gigs and stuff like that, and that is Electric Wizard. They bore me to tears. I mean, I still do enjoy this if I do put it on. I mean, I got into these guys in when I first started getting to doom metal, like Candlemass, in my late teens. But now, I mean, after seeing them live and how fucking boring it is, and being in a doom band, and I've played with so many bands that rip this sound off, it's just become so dull to me. The whole stoner doom genre, I just can't get on with. Like there's the odd band that will get my interest, but a lot of them just all sound the same. They're all chasing that fuzzy stoner doom sound that, you know, I first heard on this album. And this is a double album. This is the Come My Fanatics, and includes the debut as well. You can change the cover around to suit your collector needs. But they're a band, I mean, live they translate terrible, especially at a festival. If you watch them there, they're fucking shit. It's just because it's so noisy and airy, you can't take it in, and you've just got 40 minutes of just a drone. It bores me so much. And they don't talk to you, they don't do nothing, they just sit there and play fucking the same riff for like 40 minutes, it felt like. But again, I'm slagging them off, but as a band on this album, especially the early stuff, I really enjoy it. So, I mean, my favourite tracks are probably Devil's Bride, Wooden Pipe, and Wizard in Black is a really good one as well. So yeah, go check them out. They are cool, but I don't know about their latter stuff. It kind of lost on me, so make your own mind up. And lastly, I think this is the last one, the band I have the most stuff in my collection, so I pulled out a CD, because I could easily show a record or a box set or whatever, but I thought I'd go with this one because no one really talks about this one. And that is the legendary My Dying Bride. This is their Map of All Our Failures. Brilliant album. Really, really strong album. Really gothic vibe to it. Very doomy, really heavy, but also very melodic and very sorrowful. You know, this album has everything that is My Dying Bride. Love the album artwork. I've got this on a t-shirt. You know, I've seen them play this, I think, live. I can't remember. But as a band, they are fantastic. And everyone knows I like My Dying Bride. And yeah, everyone should like My Dying Bride. They are a brilliant band. Still going strong. Just put out another EP that I absolutely love as well. And yeah, My Dying Bride. So that is my UK Death and Dooming around the world for the end of the year. And then I'll kick off at one in January, I think. I've got a few other countries I want to do. Denmark, Holland, and then if I can get a CD, I might try and do Italy. We'll see though. But yeah, thank you for everyone that's watched this video and followed this series so far. It's actually been a lot of fun and a lot of people do enjoy it. I enjoy making them too. There's loads of people doing sorts of similar things, but you know, I'm trying to keep it more in the kind of genres that I know the most about and try and pick out bands that you might not have heard of. I could have mentioned, you know, the Amazing Consecration, but you don't want to hear about that. But I do want to know if people would see a video of my band's like history, because I've got a lot of stuff I can show about Consecration and our backstory and that kind of thing. We've just finished mastering, I think finished mastering the album. Depends if everyone agrees. But that's now going to be done. And then hopefully in the new year, we'll have a label for it. And you guys can listen to some new music I've put out with my band. So yeah, in the meantime, please like and subscribe if you're new to my channel. Say hello, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Cheers.